And welcome back to the VCT Game Changers NA, where C9 White just dominated. Man, I love Fwogs on a bind. I'm your host, Yingsu, and I'm joined by your casters once again, Vansili and Jess. And right off the bat, Astra La Vista, baby. I've been wanting to say that for the longest time, but finally we have Astra on an official broadcast. I'm loving it, and as you said, Vansili, this is, at least for me as well, the first time we've seen this agent in competitive play. What did you make of how she was maneuvered and played on bind by C9 White there?
Yeah, there was like so many intricacies they could have actually pulled out of how Katsumi played that Astra on that map, and it was actually quite beautiful because the way that she placed those stars never was like pre-placed on the defender side. It's not like, hey, I'm gonna place a star on Hookah just in case, and then throw a smoke / nebula if let's say Annie Dro spots somebody inside Hookah. It's more reactive on what currently I Love Fwogs were trying to do. So whenever they tried to rush towards a short A, boom, star on the ground. It's gonna be a gravity well. If they're gonna try to take Hookah, boom, it's going to be a star on the ground, then it's going to be a cosmic pulse, and then it's going to daze the player to allow their teammates for C9 White to push out to regain that map control. So I think this is, it asks for a lot of communication, a lot of teamwork to get that done, and it was beautifully orchestrated by C9 White.
Really, Veg, you couldn't have put it any better. I actually thought the comms that were going on behind the scenes, which we don't get to hear, we don't get to see all of this stuff that's going on. You know for a fact that if you're popping things reactively, you, number one, have to be really technically good as a player, especially with a new agent. And two, you have to be able to work on those comms as quickly as possible. If you've got Annie in your ear saying pop it now, you need to know what pop it now means. You need to be able to react as quickly as possible, get those stars out where they're needed so that Annie could do her job. I think it was excellent. I'm thinking about over towards lamps where we had a little bit of stun. I think it might have even been over towards pipes. Yep. That was a good indication to me as to what Astra can do as I'm still learning the ropes of this new agent.
Oh, same here.
Well, I mean, Vansili, you just named all of the agent abilities with perfection there. So
I had to look at my other screen. I had to look at my other screen while doing it. I think I called her alt even to astral form, so it's the cosmic divide that we actually didn't see that much, by the way, here, Yinsu.
No, we didn't. But I know you guys, you would have preferred to see them start on attack side as well. So would I, because seeing Astra on defense side, you know what you're expecting. She's supposed to be good on defense, so I'm hoping maybe going forward we'll see more of her on attack. But just in terms of on the Frog side, Jess, because losing like that is not easy, and maybe the girls a little bit nervous. We see this a lot with new teams, or they're not sort of quite feeling out C9 White as much. What do you think is the most important thing going into the next map, so they don't overthink what just happened on Vine?
Generally, the best of teams, whether you're a new team or you're a new composition of players put together in a team, it doesn't matter if you've got some competitive experience. The first thing you need to learn under the mental coaching umbrella is to how to drop an entire map out of your brain and go, this is a new one. Pretend it's an entire new matchup, pretend it's a best of one. I don't care what you have to sort of, realize in your head is the way to get you reset for a map, but you've got to do it, because you can't look back at the first map and go, oh, girls, we only got one round. What do we do? What if that happens to us in the next? We're embarrassed, we're this, but no, shut up. Just get in the game, girls. You're good at what you do. You made it to the playoffs. That's why you're here. So that's what they've got to do mentally. And really, it is a mental game, and that can happen very quickly, and it could shift the tides so very quickly.
Exactly. I think looking back here at Men I Love Fwogs, if we're thinking about the second map, it's going to be on Ascent, right? And Juna 4, who usually plays with this team right now instead of Anyan on this map for Ascent, she's played Sova once here during the qualifiers going into the top 8 right now. Usually you see them as a triple duelist, as I've mentioned before in that last map. So what can he do? If the smokes weren't enough to try to push them away, speaking about Katie with the operator, or whenever they give it to Mel with the operator, and you're trying to gain that map control, Sova is going to help a lot. I don't know if they're going to pick it into this one, but it would be a great pick for them to have just to try to gain that map control and push their opponents back into turtling in on the defense should they take the attacker side first here for Men I Love Fwogs.
Well, there's no answer. I'm sorry to cut you off, Yinsu, but the viewers have to know that the smokes don't work against C9 White. They just shoot through them.
Exactly.
So if you're sitting there going, just bring Omen, no, you can't just bring Omen. They're just going to shoot through the smokes at the end of the day. So I'm scared for Fwogs, no matter what operator composition, or rather agent operator composition that they bring in the end.
Well, speaking of agents on the C9 White side, at least from what I've seen, the stats we have and the data we have, they also run the Astra on Ascent as well, if I'm not wrong about this. So Vansili, Astra on Bind, it works. Astra on Ascent.
I think it should work as well. I think, again, we're talking about the teamwork that they could have, and when you're looking at how they're playing their tendencies on defense here for C9 White, they're also allowing to put Katsumi up towards his short and cat. So allowing that is she's going to be able to put those stars down towards that mid side, towards that link, really try to support as much as she can where she's going to be in an area where she can get a lot of cover, being the garden itself on this map of Ascent. So she could play it a little bit more passively, but at the same time, what I've noticed for C9 White is that they also use her as a lurk player on the attacker side, where usually you give that role to a sentinel like Mel, for example, right? So if Mel is going to be playing, for example, a Killjoy, expect her to move into the site with her team. She's going to be the one that's going to be spiking the bomb, or sorry, planting the spike so that she can get the ult orbs, and then you're going to have Katsumi basically lurk around the site or lurk around the map.
Well, of course, you guys just saw the map vetoes there. We are going to go into Ascend very shortly. I believe Agent Select is just around the corner. But Jess, you know, I don't believe Frogs have ever played Split before. So if we do get to map 3, it's going to be a uphill battle for these guys.
You know, we said C9 White didn't really have to do any. They were pretty confident going into any map, clearly. So I don't think for Frogs, they're going to be too worried about it because they weren't going to be counted to begin with. They just have to play their best game and think about the fundamentals that they're missing, really.
Well, we are going to head into Agent Select. And now it's time for Ascent and Map 2 between these two teams. I'll check in with you guys, Jess and Vansili, after.
Thank you so much, Ginsu. And Jess, if we're looking at it now, we do have the confirmation here that Frogs will be starting off on the defender side. Ascent, so far, being a little bit more comfortable for teams to play on the defender side.
Yeah, I mean, you say that, and I would love for them to have an advantage going into this map. I do want that. I would love for you to say, oh my God, this is the advantage that Frogs needs to get into this, come off with a flying start. Okay, maybe in the first couple of rounds we might see that round back and forth, but I really think that with C9 starting on attack, this is the worst case scenario for a viewer like me who knows that C9 White is just terrifying.
We'll see if it's going to happen, and we looked at the composition too. This time, no Phoenix, no Silva. We're actually pulling out the Reyna for Juna 4, so expect a little bit more flashes, maybe a little bit more aggression, as Frogs, at least starting off on the defender side, is a huge crossfire setup here towards the A site. And Jazzikin is going to be the first one at the point, but it's an immediate trade on a 3 versus 3, but they have taken a site for C9 White. Annie Joel looking for the shock darts just to clear out a little bit more, and they're going to have the spike plant at the default spot.
Oh, Katie's in such a prime position here. If she can stay up, she could do heavy damage, but she's going to be knocked all the way back and underneath to make sure that heaven and hell is being held in her hands. And all of a sudden, this 2v2. I did expect the pistol round to go close. I don't expect them to be able to get this retake in here, but what I do expect is they give it a good shot. And Clefairy says, yes, I'm going to make it worth your time, Jess. Walking on a site right next to the spike, but... oh, big old carry, Katie. She says, nope, the ghost to the head. And all of a sudden... this momentum we were speaking about before, this mentality that I asked Frogs to not walk into this map with, ever so close. It's the rounds that are closest, Vans, are the ones that are that hurt the most because you know you had a chance.
This is the closest overall. It is. It's at least the closest overall where they do have that, at least that moment of salvation to say, okay, we didn't win a round, but at least we made it a 1 versus 1. And you mentioned it, Jess, the crossfire setup they needed to do. They had a 3-player crossfire on the A side. It worked perfectly. And for this round, they're looking to push aggressively towards this B side. Nice. Unfortunate
that C9 knows exactly what's going on here. Not sure what that was all about. Lynn got a little bit trigger happy there and comes sporting out from B main, giving a bit of a freebie there. All of a sudden now for C9, this is going to be looking like a good start off. Was that paint shells come bursting out into the hands of Jazzy there? That was a good use.
Yeah, it was actually thrown there by Ellie Twitches so that she could actually push him out from the shed area to actually get the kill. But the thing is, once you've realized that on this eco, Frogs are trying to go for that paranoid push towards that B main, and with the Leers, well, that means the A site is now open. C9 now opens up the site, walks in, waltzes in, and gets the plant in at the default spot one more time. You see the utility on the top of that mini map. They put everything that they can from the nanostorms all around that spike to cover it down. But speaking about cover, it's Squire covering down from hell through the platform, through the heaven side, and it's Mel and Annie capitalizing on all the kills against Frogs to make it now 2 rounds in a row.
something that's very minute, and it's the minutia of a round or a team composition that a lot of people, when they're viewing the game, don't see, is that what C9 do is there's a little bit of a lag, a stagnant moment where you can see every single player waiting to peak because they want their other player to peak at the same time as them. That is cohesion amongst all the high levels of cohesion. Teams who play together a lot, they understand this. They wait for each other. They know it needs to be crossfires, and that's what C9 do so well. That's what I liked there as they were shooting over towards heaven. They waited a second to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Being very patient on that one, too, was beautiful plays. And now for this round, well, bonus for C9 White. We do have the knives all ready for Katie. She's been that person that we've been praising since that first map. Already getting knives in round 3 and already getting the headshot in the second one onto Lynn to clear up the site. That means nothing works out for the Crossfire at all. No utilities to slow down the pushes. It's going to be such a hard retake now for Fwogs.
God, those knives were pin perfect. And look at this, Katie. She's being so aggressive. She's using the momentum of the knives that she had before to make something happen. But Clefairy, the clutch god from before, unfortunately unable to live throughout the second frag. And all of a sudden, Fwogs are on the back foot. They still make this happen, however. But it's going to be a mountain against the Mulder.
Yeah, and you just saw both of them getting pinged out towards that tree side from the Fwogs. They're going to have to try to hop away to safety or try to fight it, and they decide to fight it instead. A good trade-off, but it's still going to be the advantage for C9 White to put 3 on the board. But the thing is, the reason why I'm saying oof this time here, Jess, is looking at the first map into the second map and the way that Annie Dro's been using her recon dart, she's always pinged somebody out. So I feel that maybe for Fwogs, should they maybe shoot that recon dart, or should they just run away from it?
I think you got to react to it at the end of the day, Vans. It's not out of mechanical skill range for these women to flick to it and then flick back. That is not out of range for them mechanically in any way, shape, or form. And in fact, if you're going to counter something like the bolt, then you need to be able to think to yourself, well, they're running us over. How do I deal with it? Not 5 rounds in do you think about how adapting to it. You got to know before you get there.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I think at the same time, you're a little bit hesitant because you don't want to give your position away by shooting the dart, right? And bring that sound out. But I'm on your side. At that point, if you're not going to shoot the dart, you're still getting pinged out. Might as well just shoot the dart at that point and get the crosshair placing back into your favor.
Is that a raise with a Bucky?
Yep, the double Buckies right now.
Out of it. Oh, please make something out of this, because when they hit hard. Those bodies will come flying backwards, and it's going to be Dinos, the one back aside. Omen with it. All right, make it work. Let me see how it works. They're going to get hit, but it's not enough. There's the shots, and oh my goodness, I hate being disappointed when you can see a beautiful shotgun play about to unfold.
Yeah.
But a retake, very possible now.
It was so close. I mean, she dinked 2 at that point, only needed 1 more shot, but unfortunately the double swing was perfect, and a nanoswarm even more perfect from Mel, as we do have the lockdown to push the defense away, leaving Clefairy on her own, only with the Ghost and the Bucky. I think at this point, smart move here to just play back, try to break the door maybe, to try to just go for exits. You're going to die with the spike. You want to die with the spike too, because if you don't die with the spike, you only save 1,000 credits. But at this point, losing 4 rounds in a row, you're already at your max bonus. So if you die, you're at 2,900 credits instead of 1,000.
Oh, beautiful little bit of observation there. Get us a little bit of a scenery as we're flying around the new map here in the best of 3. It's the second map here. And of course, if you did miss out on the first map, don't worry. C9 walked away in a heavy victory. Only 1 round in the hands of Fwogs. They're hoping to get some revenge here on the second map. As you can see the scoreboard already, I would say for the most part, a couple of the players on the side of Fwogs that are really standing out to me. We hyped up Ellie in the head-to-head earlier on, but Clefairy, didn't you say that she came from Pokemon 3 months ago? Girl,
I was joking about the Pokemon part, but definitely she's never played an FPS, and I just love. I'm a Pokemon guy myself, so Clefairy is like the closest thing to Jigglypuff, and I love the colorly ones. So so I had to do the Pokemon joke there, but definitely she's looking good, coming into her first FPS game to actually do pretty decently.
That's amazing. It just goes to show with a lot of practice, you can do anything you put your mind to. Speaking of, looks like the mind is a little bit tilted towards mid and A. What do you reckon? Looking at the minimap right now, where are they positioning, or are they just waiting for picks to try and make the ingress into one of the sides?
Correct. I think this is really good right now for Cloud9. They're just trying to go and see if Fwogs, because of this triple duelist again, and they know that there's a potential of an operator, are they going to make the first mistake? But as the noise gets killed off, they're lurking back up towards the catwalk side. They're clearing the angle, but half of the body of Ellie spots out and gets taken down by Katie. So the Owl drone at the same time, it's going to be a beautiful pinch here towards the A side. And Lynn, who's been quiet with the operator on the first map, finally makes it ring onto this map, but she gets immediately traded out, and that is a site loss.
What a shame. We love seeing these close numbers, though. You know, you're getting down to the last 30 seconds of every single round, and you can see the numbers are close, but they're just not able to capitalize on that late round, I think, for Fwogs. It's what C9 does best, is they've got mid and late round really capped off, and that's why you see them using their abilities to great effect. They've kept it until they've got that post-player position. Look at all the crossfires in hand. Everyone's got somewhere they're looking at. And if you're Fwogs right now, you have to manipulate that. You have to come zooming through. Be a little bit more aggressive, girls.
Okay, that was beautiful from Mel. She's cracked a 3-on-1. Only Dinos, the last one standing. And there you go. That's a nice flake to break the dart. But that flake also puts across her out of position that allows the triple swing from C9 White to get that round. And there's just one small thing I wanted to clarify looking at that last round. You saw the hot hands being thrown from hell, right? I think it was Jazzykins that you throw this from hell into heaven. The thing is, right now, the community is going to be like, oh, can she actually do that? Yes, she can, because there is a ban technique to put the nano swarms into the boxes where it cannot be shot, so you can basically take advantage of that, right? But the hot hands, they're not breakable. They're also visible. So that is actually an ability that's allowed to be thrown through the boxes there to get heaven control.
Well, there you go. And that's probably something that a lot of players will be thinking about right now. Can they bring that into their own gameplay? There we go. Curveball will roll out, but no one will collect. And you know what wants to collect? An Omen with a shotgun in hand. Paranoia, is that what I'm seeing? Or rather a drone will come out, target bolt. Surely you can get a kill off that one. Yes, you can. Katie with the knives. And is that sight in their hands? There's no one there to collect them anymore, Vans. This was a misread from the defenders of Fwogs, because once they had that B main push, they should have been alerted to the fact that surely at some point the swing would come in.
100%. It's another one of those gambles on an eco like they did on that second round. The second round, they tried it towards B. This time it was towards A. They had a Marshall. They had the knives out. They're trying to get the long-range battle on mid-side control, but now the retake. It could still happen. The wall bang to start things off from the Marshall. That's going to damage a little bit of Cloud9, but Katie is still close. The knives are out just at the bottom of the staircase. Do you see right now the turret getting popped up to try to spot some information, but they are still dropping like flies here for the C9 team, but it is still going to be Lynn, the last one to fall. They still hold it strong enough on the extremities of the map, and C9 White now make it 6 rounds in a row on the attacker side.
I did say that I wanted to see C9 on the attack. And, right, I did say it. I did sort of go, yes, I want to see C9 because they're going to be scary. What actually scares me the most is that I've seen a little bit of hesitation pushing onto A, but I saw almost no hesitation pushing onto B. Yeah. And sometimes I think it's some of the C9 playmakers that one or two different players on each of the team are more comfortable and more able to push in and make the play happen and make the execute happen. Yep. And it's good that you have a player on your team that you can look to go make that ingress happen. I'm thinking of like Jazzykins right now, made the pop over towards B main, and now they're going to make the pop over towards A. If that's the kind of execute they do here, I'm not going to be surprised because they're confident off the back of Jazzy.
100%. There's just so many ultimates right now from both sides. If you're trying to stop it with the showstopper, running back from Jazzy, though, she's still able to open things up and clear out the tree side. Trying to maybe go for the second one, but they're running back. Still Kitty's right behind her. She gets the kill onto Juna 4, but gets immediately traded out. At the same time, you may have now a Hunter's Fury to try to go for the pulse plan. I love the fact as well that after the plant, you have the lockdown from Mel just to try to slow down the clock. Also, the Hunter's Fury now being used to cancel out the lockdown on the defender side. Also pings another one. One gets locked down. It's going to be Dinos. And are they going to hunt them down? No. Just play the spike, play the time. Very calm here for Cloud9 White, and they should secure the bag.
I thought Dinos was going to get out of that lockdown there. Unfortunately, wasn't to be. That was a good little paranoia out, but no one's there to collect and get blinded. And as a result, I'm hearing that spike dwindle down. Really, you're just going for the kills.
Oh my God.
Point. That was a beautiful shot. And Lynn showing how the operator can be used in short and long range. won't get out of the spear in time, but that doesn't really matter. When you're about 7 or 8 rounds up, I think you've got enough cash in the bag to really let yourself fly on that round.
100%. And you could see, as I mentioned before, when the lockdown, sometimes you get antsy. You're like, oh my God, I actually got somebody in that lockdown. And you want to try to hunt that player down. But I love the fact that they just played more passively here for Cloud9 White, especially on that attack, on that pulse plant. They even won with time. And not only did they win with time, they won with time by also denying Lin and Clefairy to save their weapons. So that's an operator out of the picture. And that's also another low buy for the Frogs.
We saw Jazzy looking over to A last round. Now she's going to be looking towards B. That's that little bit of Astra play that we were talking about before. Still trying to work out exactly where the best meta plays for Astra are going to be. So this is a really good indication. I think there's far too many players sitting here with the flash coming out for Dinos to work with. And yes, there is.
Oh man, even Katie continuing to move forward, and it's a 3-player crossfire this time. They're trying to go for the bait and switch for the Frogs. They're only good for 1, but Lin is going to try to dash in the air as they do have now the Cosmic Divide, just trying to clear out the market, and it's C9 just running through and powering through the B site. Even an alarm bot on the ground to pretend, or should I say, find the information and hear it if you have an attempt of a retake for the Frogs. But right now, with this Cosmic Divide still up, a 20-second ultimate, it's just, you're going to have to run through it and get picked off just like they are right now.
God, there's nothing I enjoy more than looking, especially after a post-plant situation, at where the players decide to place themselves. There was already 2 players over towards backside. There was 1 player sort of looking towards the stairs, and then you look over to B main, and Annie goes, well, that's the one angle over towards, I guess, towards the defender's spawn. Yep. That is not being watched. So let me put myself in that position to do that. That's high-level thinking. That's critical understanding of positioning, especially in regards to a map. I don't know. I don't know, Vans. Maybe I'm just going to be the biggest C9 White fangirl that exists, because they've definitely sold me on the fact that they are seed number 2. Well, technically seed number 1, depends how you want to look at how the groups went, for a damn good reason.
For sure. And even if you're looking at C9 White on the attack with this composition, I'm starting to see it a little bit more. When you have the lockdown, you're trying to slow down the clock. You're trying to put the spike into your advantage with the timer ticking down. And then when they don't have the ultimate for the lockdown, they have the Cosmic Divide. Another 20 seconds to run down the clock. They're playing very good pulse plant situations, and you'll see that they're going to play this very passively for C9 White every time they're going to take the advantage of that. So as we mentioned, the hot hands now being pushed out, and at the same time, Jazzykin's playing the Mario Brothers so that she can heal up into her own Molly. And the retake, at least, is going to try to come in now for the Frogs. Jazzykin, though, with the curveball, but nobody's really pushing out. We're just making noise from the house side so that Jazzykin can be the first contact. Still with the wall bang, Katie connects with a kill. And as it's not looking good for Clefairy and company of Frogs, they really can't get into the site. They're just stuck on the heavens, stuck at the tree side, and this should be now a 9th round for Cloud9 White, unfortunately.
Yeah, looking over towards Frogs was giving them a moment of silence here for what has occurred so far on this particular map. It's an unfortunate one, because I do think that this has actually been an extraordinarily valuable matchup between both of these two teams. A lot of people are going to be sitting there going, C9 White, you can't beat them. They're invincible. They're absolutely smashing Frogs. Sure, the scoreline might dictate that, but I'm telling you, I'm looking over to Lin, Clefairy, Dinos, Ellie, and Juno, and I'm saying to myself, these girls are walking away from this matchup getting some of the best experience they possibly ever could in that particular composition that they've got now, and that is invaluable. Money can't buy that kind of stuff. So for 100%. Me, this matchup has been a big eye-opener in multiple ways.
For sure. And now I'm pretty sure this is going to be a tactical pause, because you're trying to come back into this game here for the Frogs. And at the same time, as you mentioned here, Jess, it's good experience. And I believe in that because, again, I've said that they've played a Sova before where they actually did get a victory with it. Like, they didn't play so bad. When they had Sova into the lineup, they went 13-1 versus Sweet Shot in the playoffs. And they also went 13-10 versus Elysium Rose in the playoffs as well, but they were playing a Phoenix. So the triple duelist shows that, yes, you want a little bit more aggression, you want to do more on the attacker side, but they cannot, because, of course, you have to play the defender side. And what happens with no Sova? You cannot have recon darts. You cannot have any owl drone to try to get information on these site retakes. And this is why they're having such a much harder time to get the retake into the A side, because they have no idea where C9 White are hidden inside the site.
Well, the operator will come out into the hands of the Jet. Can't make that smoke pop happen like we saw in previous rounds and matchups, rather, on the previous map. If you want to go back on it, I strongly suggest, if you want to see some smoke pops, that was beautiful. The shotgun and the zoom of the tailwind will come in. No! Missed shots there, but it doesn't matter. It's a trade. Jazzy will take down Judah finally, but that could be really disastrous. Speaking of, nice little wall bang there. Lynn pitched in the back of hell there, and this is what worries me for Fwogs is C9. They're so confident getting onto site, and then once they're on, they know exactly where to look.
Here's the good thing, though. The spike hasn't been planted, so this gives a lot of time right now for the smoke, the Omen, Dinos to try to go for that flank from A main. So Ashley creeps forward. Ashley smokes out towards this A main side. Annie Dro might not notice this, but Annie Dro is also hiding inside the smoke herself. So Dinos might not expect it on her end. It's going to be a chess battle on that side at A main, and Annie Dro, she sniffs it. She knows somebody's coming across, and she connects with the headshot. That's the flanker down, but that is also going to be the cue for the retake up on Heaven's side, and Clefairy gets the first kill, evening things up on a 2 versus 2. Cat at the bottom of hell gets dinked, but didn't have the stronger weapon for Clefairy. That was a beautiful dink, but no kill to connect, and Annie Dro, watching the crossfire from A main, connects to make it now 10 in a row for C9 White, just strolling off here with the victory, or getting closer to the victory at least.
A little bit of game sense comes into that as well, because if you look over to the composition of C9, they're not running a Cypher, which, not that you have to run a Cypher on this map, but you know that your flanks are a little bit more open. No one's particularly there watching. Maybe there's not going to be a trap wire there to alert you if it's well placed. Mind you, there's not a lot of places on this map to throw it without it being hopped. Nevertheless, she was so aware that game sense was heightened. She turned around, dealt with it, came back, had that heaven angle. I mean, that's how you do it. That's a post-player position. Really well done.
So a post plan that continues to be good here for C9 White. We have to figure out some... Oh, no.
What?
Another one of those here, Jess. It's the smoke spray through it and get the kills.
You can only laugh at this point and think to yourself, C9 White, tell me your scrim schedule and who you're scrimming to do these kind of smoke shots that you're getting through, because they are brilliant. And he says, I'm going to take my cool time as I go shooting over towards Market. It doesn't matter about the smokes. Think about the wall bangs as well, Vans.
This is what I mean. You have to shoot that recon dart. You saw it come out. They were in perfect positions to try to shoot it down. They were just thinking, hey, maybe she's going to swing with it. But at this level, how C9 White currently plays, and how when you're playing at the pro level too, you don't need to show yourself. If you're paying them out, you're just going to see an amount, like a hail of bullets coming through the wall and try to wall bang you. And that's exactly what happened there on that 2 versus 1. And that made things a lot easier for Annie to actually win that 2 versus 1 for that mid control.
Well, me sitting here attempting to analyze what's going on without sort of putting too much emphasis on C9 White has been ever so difficult. I do think, however, that what we're seeing from the side of Fwogs isn't complete disaster. I don't think it's a complete disaster. I think they're not reacting quick enough to C9 White. C9 White, as you can see, running straight onto A, taking control of it, as if they themselves are the defenders, fans. I'm telling you, that confidence is bread and butter.
100%, and they are trying different things here for Fwogs. Now this time, pushing towards B didn't work, pushing towards A didn't work. Now they're pushing towards mid, and they are working with these flanks. There's another battle that's going to happen, and that's going to ensue towards A main. That has been won here for the Fwogs, but Mel still holds the ground towards the A side. It's a 2 versus 2. It's still doable. We do have a health advantage coming in for the Fwogs. The curveball from Jazzy Ball outside towards Heaven to connect with that kill, and her teammate is going to get the second one, and that is going to be map point, series point, and also 12 rounds in a row for Cloud9 White.
This is where we rub our hands. I know you're not with me, Vans. I know you're on the other side of the world, but rub your hands together for me, because we want to send good vibes over to Fwogs right now. They got the 1 round last map. I want them to learn something throughout this matchup so far. Turn around and go, you know what? We can adapt to what they're throwing at us. They're being really fast. They're being really confident. We can deal with this by doing whatever it is their adaptation dictates.
Yep.
I just want to see it out of them in this round. I still feel that they have a lot to show in the lower bracket if they do get pushed down after this round or future rounds, and we do happen to see that series point occur after this round. I just don't think it's against a team like C9 White, who, I mean, this is their playground. I'm talking both 2 maps we've seen as being their playground, but I've been most convinced here on this particular map.
Yeah, definitely. I think looking at Cloud9 White and even reflecting on how they even played on maps like Haven, they're looking like a very scary team. And to see right now the number, I guess, 7 seed, right? Because Cloud9 White's the 2nd seed right now in the top 8. You want to know what Fwogs could actually bring in down towards the lower brackets. I'm saying as if it's going to be over. I'm not going to actually count my chickens until they hatch. I think they might have a chance because, like I said, now that they take the attacker side here, Jess, and they have this triple duelist, being that aggressive, trying to get those trades, using Juna 4 with the Leers, the paranoia from Dinos could help a lot for this attempt to work towards this B site.
Well, if they want to fight fire with fire, then the duelists are the ones who are going to have to do it here for the side of Fwogs. I'm sitting with bated breath because I want it. I want nothing more than them to turn around, clap back on attack the same way that C9 clapped onto them. Do I think it's going to come out in the pistol round of all rounds? No. Do I think it's the worst outcome to have that match point, that series point on a pistol round? Heck yes. Yep. Because not only are you trying to gain momentum off the pistol round, but you're also going to try to gain economy. It's the worst time to try and do it because you're trying to really capsulate what it is to get back into a matchup. So worst time for them to have to do it. I wish they had got 1 or 2 rounds, which would have already propelled them into the pistol round early. But they got what they're given at this point, Vans.
Definitely, and now we're going to see give it your all towards this B side. 4 players moving forward. Katie setting up a crossfire. She makes it enough across towards this turret, but now the boombot spots her. They couldn't shoot it down fast enough, and that allows Dinos to get the first blood into this round, and things are looking good, at least for now, for the Fwogs. And we're going to we had a curveball actually set up for Jazzikins to try to push out, and I like this move from Fwogs to try to pull back instead and regain mid control.
A little bit of a bait and switch, which can always work really well, especially if everyone's so prepared for them to do that B main rush, to just have that all of their utility poised towards it. Instead, you can see them moving ever so quietly over towards A at the moment, over towards A main. And I think, I don't think C9 have fallen for this at all, really. No. They're just making a little bit of a play out of this, and really good players are poised to attack this as they come zooming on in.
That's the other thing. You're just putting the stars on the ground. You have so much stopping power, and you have reconverts once again to come out. And that is just going to be the C9 on lockdown without the lockdown needed on the A site. Juna 4 with only 1 more to go. Her teammates also low on HP, so you have to count pretty much on Juna 4 for the rest of everything. Falls into her hands onto this round on pistol. She's about to come head-to-head. Was just passing over the Phoenix. Unfortunately there, she doesn't clear towards the right, and that is going to be it. The 2 fall, and C9 White wins this series 2-0 and move forward in the VCT Game Changers.
Well, there you go. Not only did they get through the group stages before they were propelled into the playoffs undefeated in any map, they walk into this particular series only dropping 1 singular round throughout it. And that is a statement to make if I've ever seen one. The other teams are going to be looking over to this score and going, oh, hang on, Vans, I'm a little bit worried, because if at some point throughout the bracket we're going to go up against C9 White, that is the reputation that they will have behind them.
Well, I'm back, Jess and Vansili, and Jess, for the record, I was rubbing my hands so fast.
Thank you.
And so
those hot
quick.
hands.
I was dragon balling. I was dragon balling the spirit bomb here for the team of Fwogs.
That is acceptable. Obviously, there's a little bit to break down here, but there's also not a lot to break down here. As you guys know, when teams win with such dominant fashion, it's difficult to sort of like analyze 100% what's going on. But I do want to start off by talking about map control, because that last round to me is one of the reasons we're seeing a bit of a disparity, which the disparity that is rightfully there, right? Because this Cloud9 White team has been together far longer. They've had way more support, you know, coaching staff. They've been doing this for longer, so I would have been very, very surprised had they been the team that lost 13-0, let's put it that way. But in terms of map control, we saw that round. They committed a little bit to the B main, got the entry, and then decided to fake it back to A. But of course, that is not something you're going to fall for when you have absolutely no map control at mid, and they were sort of just shift walking around the map. Vansili, how do you feel like the way that I'm seeing it, that is maybe a bit of a disparity between the two teams, and if there is something that they need to work on a little bit better, is that?
Yeah, I do agree. If we want to break down into the last round, right, the pistol run that we saw on that second half, for Fwogs to get that first kill was perfect. I think even falling back is the right thing to do at that point, because you could see in hindsight on that minimap that you had, again, the curveball ready from Jazzykins. They also had a third player ready in there. So what happens is now mid control is open, but we didn't take advantage of it for Fwogs. Why? Because you have an Astra also towards the A site that's going to put a star in the middle, and then it's like, oh, well, a Nebula's up, and then I don't want to walk through it because now Fwogs has been denied information on what's happening towards middle. So you try to crunch back towards the A side, it's just not good enough. You still go back with no information. That's the key word, no information of where C9 White's playing, and you don't really have the utility with this composition, at least in my opinion, to allow to flush these players out. You don't have a Raze with pain shells to try to push out of angles. You don't have a Sova to drone or to recon, right? I guess it did have a Raze, but the utility wasn't really pushed out in a sense to try to flush out your opponents.
Oh no, look at that on the screen right now. 28.3% compared to the 17. That's okay, that's headshot. As long as you get your kill, you don't really matter if it's headshots or otherwise. But the damage between both of the teams, that's probably the big one, as well as the frag wins and objective wins. I'm not so worried about the objective wins considering, you know, how that particular map went. But that frag wins, what do you take from that? Just out of the fact that a lot of it came down to utility to begin with, and then frags galore.
Definitely. I think you're looking at this, the amount of damage, it paints the story of what happened as well for Fwogs when they were playing the defender side and trying to go for that retake, right? The amount of times that they couldn't even step a foot inside that site because of the hot hands from Jazzykins at Heaven, the control that they had with Anidro towards that tree side. So you're forced in situations where you have to try to save so much. And that means you don't have enough damage going in through. So that means also no damage at the beginning of the round that was being displayed here for the Fwogs team, unfortunately, at that point. So C9, they really had the reins and the control of this whole series the whole time.
I think the utility
talking about
control...
reins.
Oh, no, go on.
Oh, no, I just need to point something out because the Annie fans out there, myself included, Annie, if you watch this, I love you so very much. Please, I'm your greatest fan. No, but seriously, the 8.5 KD, is that what I saw? Is that, I'm just noting it down here in my notes at 8.5 and she wasn't even the Jet.
It's pretty crazy.
Put that out?
It's pretty crazy. I actually now I have to go back into the websites to check those stats. But that's huge actually in terms of KD. And again, it comes down to how good she's been using the utility and take advantage of it too when it's not being countered back by just simply shooting down that utility.
Well, I think the utility usage is a really interesting point here because I'm going to bring some of my EU-ness into this because I know what EU teams would do if they were watching this and their sort of way to solve this issue. And I think some NA teams are starting to do this as well. But not having a Sage in those situations against Cloud9 White, for me, makes no sense. So if it was me, you know, watching this, if I was a team that was going to go up against a C9 White, I'd be thinking, let me real quick sub in a Sage here because that is going to mitigate the slows and the war. That is going to mitigate so much of their pushes. They like going in hard. They like going in fast. They like these executes where they throw everything at you. I know it's not the most popular opinion, and I'm sure chat are probably down there flaming me right now for bringing up Sage. But hear me out, guys. I'm telling you, any other teams that are watching this, sub in a Sage and then see what happens.
There's no way that they flame you because even if you look at Masters for NA last weekend, we also had a huge change in 100 Thieves, also using a Sage now with Nitro into the lineup and really using that agent to the best of its abilities, or to best of her abilities to be able to slow down the attack. Of course, they still lost their series, but it is still a great start to try to stop and slow down an aggression. I talked about Raze before. The paint shells are going to be very good. The Boombot is good to get that information too. But I haven't maybe seen it as much into this series, maybe because we didn't catch it. I'm going to have to look back at these VODs to see if that was really the case on the side here of Fwogs with the triple duelist setup that they had.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing to probably point out is that if Fwogs had really watched all of those plethora of VODs that exist on C9 White, and you know that they're an aggressive team that confidently takes a side, and you don't think to yourself, how do we stall that out? I mean, Sage is an option that you can bring in to stop that kind of really aggressive push. You can stint them, you can stall them, you can do all of those combative tactics. I don't think necessarily when you're going into a matchup, you go, this is the composition we like, and we're going to be reactive. How about you be proactive? How about you look at your agent stage in conversation and go, okay, we could be proactive before we even get into the matchup. And maybe that could have, I don't know, stalled C9 White out a little bit more. I'm not saying they would have won, but maybe they could have put up a bit of a better fight in the end to just slow them down a little bit.
100%, I'm with you there. But of course, that was the first quarterfinals of the day, which means the bracket looks slightly different. And now, Cloud9 White, you know, they can chill now. They can lay back a little bit and watch the action because they're going to be going through to the upper bracket, which means they won't be back in action until tomorrow. That also means that Fwogs will be dropping down to that lower bracket. Again, we said this earlier, Vansili, not the end of the world.
Definitely not the end of the world. I mean, it's you get second chances. You still have a chance. I mean, looking back at Fwogs and you look at the other matches that they had, if it's not against Cloud9 White, there have always been very good one-sided series for Men I Love Fwogs. They've always been victories where there's only one team that were able to get double digits against them, which was Elysium Rose, as I mentioned before, on that very map of Ascent. But everything else, it's a 13-1 or 13-4. You see that aggression from that triple duelist that works very well for this roster, for this composition. It's just because it's against Cloud9 White, who's a little bit more seasoned, let's face it, right? I mean, they've beaten NA teams, like Tier 1 NA teams as well, like Renegades in the past. They know how to face off against that, and now it's your turn to learn how do you counter that back again.
I think probably to sort of cap off my thoughts about this particular matchup, especially now that it's a lower bracket and the upper bracket, they're going to be split apart. Maybe they go head-to-head again. Maybe we get a bit of a rematch if Fwogs can really pick things up in the lower bracket and zoom on through. My problem is that Fwogs would have leant back on the fact that a lot of their matches have been one-sided. The same way that C9 White will after this first particular matchup. It's a mentality you don't want to get yourself into, so I'm hoping for C9 White's sake, they look at this matchup and go, well, our next matchup will be the winner between whoever on the next winner's bracket. So we need to be a little bit more careful. And every stage they jump up, we need to be a little bit more careful. We need to be more prepared. And conversely for Fwogs, they have a little bit to look back on and go, hang on, we got our butts whooped today. What's going on? Because usually we could do the butt whooping ourselves. What's going on here? So for me personally, I think both teams can introspectively look back and go, actually, let's not get too comfortable. It can turn out like this.
And speaking of that winner's bracket, of course, I believe they're going to be playing the winner of TSM versus Dignitas, and that match is currently going on our B stream, but we are going to take a little break here. But don't worry, guys, when we come back, we're going to be bringing you CLG Red versus Oa Oa.
Verizon believes everyone deserves the best. That's why we start with 5G from America's most reliable network.
Verizon 5G is next level.
Then give families plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need starting at $35.
You get so much more than just a great network.
And offer the best in entertainment on select unlimited plans, like Disney+, Hulu, and ESPN+, as well as Discovery+, with a Galaxy S21 Plus 5G when you buy one. There's no reason to settle for less than the best, only from Verizon.